What's going on, my friends? SeanPierceJohnson here with this week's episode of Stompbox Saturday, and on the Stompin' Block today we have the Panther Cub V2 from JHS Pedals. Man, they sure have released a lot of new stuff this year, haven't they? With the addition of 2 new pedals at just a couple weeks ago, actually. That's like 6 new pedals in 1 year. Man, you just can't stop Josh and the crew over there. And the Panther Cub has always been a pedal that I've wanted to check out because I am a huge analog delay fan. I love them so much. I always want to try whichever one I can get my hands on, and this one totally has some features that would make it extremely desirable to just about anybody looking for a great, versatile analog delay. So let's go ahead, throw the pedal up on the screen, and we can take a look at the controls and how they are going to get us our sounds. So we see 6 knobs and 2 foot switches, and there's a few more things on the sides that we'll get to in a moment. The knobs are time to set your delay time, an output volume, which is actually going to set a output volume of the entire pedal. So basically you will be boosting the volume of the dry signal coming out of the pedal as well as the affected signal. You then have the mix, which is just for your wet signal, just the repeats. And I like that because you can really sculpt what kind of echo sound you're getting. The further up you get, you definitely start to lose your original signal, and you can get some really washy, gooey kind of delay sounds out of it. The ratio is a tap tempo subdivision knob. Now we have 4 different types of ratio of the delay time. We have quarter note, we have dotted 8th note, we have 8th note, and then we have 8th note triplet. So 4 different variations of the delay time that we can get out of this pedal, which kind of opens up a whole other world of possibilities depending on where you set that knob. We have feedback, of course, the amount of repeats that we're going to get in our sound, and the EQ, which is basically going to tailor the EQ curve of the repeats in the delay. So brighter settings at clockwise, darker sounds going counterclockwise, and, you know, somewhere in the middle, a nice middle ground, even keel. There's an expression jack on the right side of the pedal. We're not going to mess with that today because, quite frankly, I am just excited about what this pedal can do on the face of it and what is on the left side of the pedal, and that is the modulation that is added to the echo repeats on here. There's 2 speeds, a plus and a minus, so a fast and a slow, I guess you could look at it, and an on-off switch. So there's no adjustment to it immediately on the face of the pedal. I actually haven't opened this up to see if there's a control inside that you could adjust the speed and depth. If there's not, oh well, no big deal. So let's start looking at what these knobs do. There's a lot to it. So let's start by just seeing how much time range we have on this pedal. So the Panther Cub has a full second of delay time on here, which is pretty incredible for an analog delay. They usually tend to max out at about 750. But some are definitely pushing that these days, and that's what I love about these new guys pushing analog technology. We're getting way more out of it than we used to. But the interesting thing is, kind of like the Boss DM2, the time knob is reversed. So at its full counterclockwise position, we have the longest delay time of 1,000 milliseconds or a second. I'll show you how that sounds. There you go. And then as we turn it clockwise, we get a little faster. even faster still. And then all the way counterclockwise. Which has a nifty kind of weird, glitchy, double tracky kind of vibe to it, if you ask me. And of course, like our favorite analog delays, we always get those little artifacts when we turn the time knob, and there is nothing wrong with that. So as you can see, a whole lot of different delay time things that you can do, which are then made even more clever and more adjustable by incorporating the ratio knob. So what you just heard was just the quarter note pulse of everything on that time knob. But now, if we want, we can go to the dotted eighth note. And get, you know, this kind of typical things that we do with the dotted eighth note. Do your edge thing really easily right there. And it's kind of gooey and it's kind of nice, and it really sits well with the guitar. Or we can go ahead and go to the eighth note subdivision. Kind of nice and almost makes it seem like we've got more fingers than we actually do. Which is always kind of fun to do that kind of little bit of trickery there. Oh, stop me, I'm just having too much fun. Now that we've taken a look at what we could do with the time adjustments of this, let's explore the feedback and the EQ and see how those two work well together. The feedback and the EQ knob on the Panther Cub really work well together, to the point where you can almost use the EQ knob as a secondary way of making sure that you don't get the crazy self-oscillation thing that, well, an analog delay is well known for. But the EQ on this doesn't get really extremely bright. Even as a matter of fact, at that high of a setting, it still gets pretty murky. But even, you want murky, this is murky. But you can hear as we turn it up, it starts shaving off that murky low end so that it doesn't build up so quickly. That's one of the things that is really interesting when you really start getting into sound, is how quickly low frequencies can build up and create, you know, this mud and this wash and this just unpleasing mass of just ugh. I have no other way of saying it other than ugh. Because you can't get heard, and when that starts happening, then you start getting things like, oh, I don't know, this. But I'm going to show you guys what exactly you can get feedback-wise out of this. I'm just going to strum one chord so you can hear it. There's a lot to work with there. Put a volume pedal in front of your guitar, get yourself some swells going on in there. You could have a lot of fun. And really, for as murky as this pedal can sound, it can definitely work well as sort of, you know, your distorted echo sound. So let's go ahead, flick over to that. So one of the last things we should take a listen to is the modulation that is on the Panther Cub. Like I said, there's an on-off switch and 2 settings. So my trusty small screwdriver, we're going to turn that on. There we go. Take a listen to that low setting, or the minus setting. Still pretty warbly. Let's go ahead and flick over to plus. that gets pretty wacky, pretty wobbly and warbly. That was a lot of W right there. Anyway, yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about the modulation. I'm sure spending some real time with it, I'd be crafting a setting specifically to use with the modulation. It might not be everybody's cup of tea. You know, I like a little bit more subtle modulation, so if there is some ability to adjust it, I would like to do that. And that's pretty much all you need to know about getting a sound out of the Panther Cub. It's a very well-tuned analog delay with a lot of features to get a bunch of different sounds. So here are a few of my favorites. And there you have it, my friends. That's the Panther Cub V2 analog delay from JHS Pedals. These are always so well tuned. The packaging is really cool. You really can't deny that they've definitely hit on an aesthetic that works for them. Functionally, this thing is kind of hard to argue against. As an analog delay with tap tempo, rhythmic subdivisions, you know, the only thing I would really say against the functionality is just I wish I could control the modulation, just because I like something a bit more subtle. As far as the EQ goes, man, this is probably the murkiest sounding modern analog delay. I would kind of like to be able to get the repeats just a little bit brighter, but I'm not going to complain too much because, quite frankly, it sits well with any kind of sound that I can conjure up from my amplifier. it's really hard to argue against this pedal. It's a good one, and I think it's one that is worth checking out if you come across one. And hey, I want to know what you guys thought of this video featuring the JHS Panther Cub. You can let me know your thoughts in the comments section below, and please do click that subscribe button, turn on your notifications so you don't miss the rest of the videos coming up on my channel as we finish out the year. Thank you all so much for joining me again this week. I always appreciate having you with me. And until next time, my friends, I'm Sean Pierce Johnson, and I wish you guys all great tone and happy stomping. Cheers.